What's going on, everybody? It's Nick, and this is your second stimulus check stimulus package update video. Now, we've got lots of stimulus news to cover in today's video, but before we do that, I want to quickly invite you to hit that subscribe button below, turn the bell notification icon on so you don't miss any of my second stimulus check stimulus package update videos. Now, with that out of the way, let's get straight into today's news. Now, if you watched my last video, you know that earlier this month, lawmakers unveiled a new $908 billion bipartisan stimulus plan. Democratic leaders Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer said that they supported that bipartisan plan. Republicans in the Senate also expressed support for the bill, and all eyes were on Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell to see whether he would get behind the plan as well. The plan did not, however, call for a second round of stimulus checks, which disappointed many Americans. Many hoped that Congress would pass the stimulus package by December 11th with the government spending bill that was needed to avoid a government shutdown. That deadline to avoid a government shutdown was extended by 1 week as members of Congress continued to hash out details of this next stimulus package. Fast forward to this week. Lawmakers continued to hash out the details of a $900 billion bipartisan stimulus deal. Republican Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell recently suggested that the parties drop two of the most hotly contested provisions from the bipartisan stimulus bill. Here's what he had to say.
Well, I'm sure you were carefully listening a while ago. I have a suggestion to make, which is that the two most contentious items be set aside. Liability protection, we all know, with all due respect to our colleagues on the other side, they are almost like a wholly owned subsidiary of the plaintiff's bar. So any kind of liability relief, they instinctively, like a Pavlovian response, object to. We have some very serious questions about the actual need of additional state and local assistance. So what I've suggested to them internally and suggest to you publicly, why don't we set aside the two obviously most contentious issues? We know we're going to be confronted with another request after the first of the year. We'll live to fight those another day and pass the things that we agree on.
Now, Democrat Minority Leader in the Senate, Chuck Schumer, quickly shot down McConnell's suggestion that the Democrats drop state and local aid in return for the Republicans dropping the liability shield.
Now, Senator McConnell has put the jobs of firefighters, ambulance workers, sanitation officers, police officers in jeopardy. Every governor and mayor across the country has been fighting to keep these people working, and McConnell is pulling the rug out from under them. When a worker is laid off from a state or local government, it's no different than when a worker is laid off from a small business. They each have to feed their families, pay the rent or mortgage, and just have enough wherewithal, enough dollars to survive. State and local funding is bipartisan. Unlike the extreme corporate liability proposal Leader McConnell made, which has no Democratic support. Leader McConnell has refused to be part of the negotiations. Leader McConnell has refused to be part of the bipartisan negotiations, and now he's sabotaging good faith bipartisan negotiations because his partisan ideological effort is not getting a good reception. Senator McConnell is trying to pull the rug out from beneath the Gang of Eight. We believe they have been making good progress, and they ought to be allowed to move forward because they are the best hope for a bipartisan solution.
Now, they say politics makes strange bedfellows, and that appeared to be the case earlier this week when Republican Senator Josh Hawley, a clean-cut conservative from the Midwest, and Senator Bernie Sanders, a self-described Democratic socialist from Vermont, teamed up to push for the inclusion of a second stimulus check in this next relief package.
The senator from Vermont.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, it is no great secret that the American people understand how far removed the United States Congress is, and both political parties are, from their needs. They do polls out there. depending on the month, and Congress gets a 10% approval rating. On a good day, maybe a 20% approval rating. People understand that to a shameful degree, what Congress does is worry about the needs of wealthy campaign contributors, both political parties, and turns their backs on the needs of working people. A few months ago, Burlington, Vermont, not far from where I live, they shut down a road so that people could line up in their cars to get emergency food distributed by the Vermont National Guard. Hundreds and hundreds of people in Burlington, and true all over the state of Vermont. And by the way, Vermont probably is in better shape than most states in this country. We have more hunger in America today than at any time in the modern history of this country. This pandemic has been a disaster, not only from a public health perspective, but from an economic perspective. And economists tell us that working families today are in worse shape right now than any time since the Great Depression. And it's not just the children in America, the richest country on earth, are going hungry. It's you have millions and millions of families who are scared to death that they're going to be evicted from their homes, and join the 500,000 people in America who are already homeless. We have half of our population working day to day, living paycheck to paycheck, trying to survive. This Congress must address the economic emergency facing the American people. We cannot go back to our families during the Christmas holidays while tens of millions of families are suffering. They are looking toward us and their government to provide the emergency assistance that they need. Yesterday, Senator Hawley and I introduced a very simple amendment, not a radical idea. In fact, we're way, way behind what other countries around the world are doing to protect their workers. All that we want to do is to once again provide the same benefits that were provided in the CARES bill that unanimously, Democrats, Republicans, President Trump signed it, supported it. We all came together in March to say that every working class adult in this country would get $1,200 and their kids would get $500. So you got a husband and wife and 2 kids, that's $3,400. Maybe they could use that money to pay a couple of months' rent, buy some food, go to the doctor. We're looking at a horrible pandemic now, and you got 90 million people who are uninsured or underinsured. That's all we are asking, is to do what we unanimously did in March, to make sure that our unemployed workers get the benefits they need, to make sure that working families get that $1,200 check per person. Now, Mr. President, I've been here for a while. I am not one of the members of the Senate who shuts down, does this and does that, and keeps people here for weeks. I don't do that. But this I want to say right now. I am prepared to withdraw my objection at this moment. But I will not be prepared to withdraw an objection next week. We will deal with the financial crisis facing tens of millions of Americans. And if I have anything to say about it, and I guess I do, we're not going to go home for the Christmas holidays unless we make sure that we provide for the millions of families in this country who are suffering. And with that, I would yield to Senator Hawley.
Senator from Missouri.
Reserving the right to object, Mr. President. This is a very simple thing that we're talking about, and I can boil it down really easily. If the Senate of the United States can find hundreds of billions of dollars to give to big government and big business, surely it can find some relief for working families and working individuals. And I would just submit to you that it is working families and working people who should be first in line for COVID relief, not last. And that is why the amendment that Senator Sanders and I have proposed is so common sense. $1,200 for individuals, $2,400 for families, $500 for every child. And as Senator Sanders rightly says, every member of this body has voted yes in favor of this relief before. What's more, I can't figure out who exactly is opposed to it. The President of the United States has said that he is in favor of direct assistance. I thank the Majority Leader for his own support for direct assistance. The Speaker of the House has said that she is in favor of direct assistance, and that is why there is no reason why this body should leave next week before we vote on and approve direct assistance to working families. Now, let me just say one other thing. Let me tell you about a phone call I had with a friend of mine at home when this Congress approved direct assistance back in March. He texted me and then he called me and he said, I'm seeing this news about relief that we're going to maybe get a check. He said, is that real? And I said, yeah, that's real. And he said, well, I don't know. I'm worried about taking it. I mean, what if we spend the money? I mean, we could use the money, but what if we spend it? I can't pay it back. You know, it comes back and now I got to pay it back. And I said, you don't have to pay it back. It's relief because you need it, because you're a worker. This is a guy who works in concrete. That's his business. And he said, are you serious now? You're serious that we can keep this money? I can use this for my family? And I said, that's exactly what it's for. And his comment to me was, his words were, man, this is a godsend. There are families like that, not just all over Missouri, not just all over Vermont, but all over this nation. And they are in need today like they were in need in March. And it is incumbent upon this body to act. And we should not leave until we do act. So having reserved the right to object, Mr. President, today I do not object, and I yield the floor.
According to Newsweek and other sources, the $900 billion bipartisan stimulus package that is currently being discussed in Congress will likely include a second round of checks worth $600, supplemental unemployment insurance in the amount of $300 per week, and more than $300 billion for small businesses, including more funding for the popular Paycheck Protection Program. So in all likelihood, the stimulus negotiations are going to continue into the week and possibly early next week. That is going to require lawmakers to pass at least a stopgap spending bill by Friday to avoid a government shutdown Saturday. Then lawmakers can continue negotiating the stimulus bill through the weekend. Now, Mitch McConnell promises Americans that lawmakers will not leave Washington until a deal is struck.
Let me say again, leaving here without a COVID relief package cannot happen. We have to get that done. I think both sides fully understand that.
The Washington Post reported that the stimulus package under discussion right now would include $600 stimulus checks for millions of Americans, 10 weeks of jobless aid, $330 billion in small business assistance, money for vaccine distribution, and funding for a range of other programs. So if you don't want to miss any breaking news regarding the stimulus package and the second stimulus checks that are being negotiated in Congress right now as we speak, then make sure to hit that subscribe button below if you have not done so already, and turn the bell notification icon on. If you like this video, let me know by giving it a like, and as always, thank you for watching.